Happy to be joined now on Gem State Game Day by Sam Thorngren, entering his 19th season as the head coach of the Butte County Pirates. Coach Thorngren, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Did you ever think you'd be coaching long enough to where you'd be the dean of coaches in the 8-man ranks? You've been up there a while.
No, I didn't. But that was kind of hard. I had no idea that was out there or that I was. But then I seen Hasselstrom's back though, and he's definitely older than me. So there's got to at least be one.
That's right. Ryan Hasselstrom back to coach the Prairie Pirates in his second stint. Maybe we'll have him on Gem State Game Day later on this season. But you are the talk of the town still. Everywhere we go, people want to talk about that championship that Butte County won last year at the 1A D1 level, previously the 2A level, the first in school history. Has it settled in at all, or is it still kind of a euphoric feeling?
Oh, it feels a little more like it really happened now. I mean, there was those first couple months afterwards, it just didn't, it seemed so surreal, but it seems real, but it's kind of made us antsy. We really want to kind of get back into it.
Well, we'll only look back at last year's team one final time. Sort of the magical story of the season. Not only did you guys win your first championship in school history, but of course, everything that happened with Dylan Waymeyer and the near-death experience he suffered on the sidelines and Dilly Strong and all of that. Can you tell our audience how is Dylan doing? He's since graduated, but how's Dilly Strong doing?
Oh, Dilly's doing good. He's actually out there coaching with us a little now. He comes out and helps with practice, and he's probably going to travel with us this season. So he's making a lot of progress, feeling better. He's going to wait a year to go to college because he's still got some stuff to work through, but he's doing great.
That's incredible. So we'll have to keep an eye out for Coach Waymeyer. He helped coach boys basketball last year during his senior year. So you got the coaching bug just like you did.
Well, he's one I actually always thought could do it. So when I step away, I'm always hoping one of my boys steps in and does it for me. So I love having those younger guys involved and, want to keep it going. So Dilly's still plenty a part of the team though.
For sure. Well, for those that may be new to your team this year, all they have to do is look at last year's roster because there's a lot of guys that played quality minutes for you last year that are back this year. But introduce our audience to some of the key players you'll be leaning on this season.
Well, we got a couple senior tailbacks, Ross and Twitchell and Razor Duke, they are really good runners. I mean, either of them be the featured back on most teams, in the state, but we'll feature both of them. And Razor, as you know, can play quarterback too. He'll be a lot in the Brody Westergaard mode, playing running back, receiver, quarterback, kick returner. He'll be all over the field. Whereas Rawson, he's really tough between the tackles and, he can really move them there. So we got those two. And then our quarterback, Keaton Archibald, just really runs that option pretty much to perfection. I mean, we can do things with Keaton we've never been able to do before. He's just a natural. So we got some good ones there, and we got some good sophomore kids that were pulling up that had waited, and some juniors that probably would have started in most years, but we had a lot of depth last year, so they didn't get to see them.
Well, the wait was certainly worth it as they all got those championship rings over there on the sidelines. So now the season opener, it is our inaugural Gem State game of the week as well. You're playing Logos in a neutral site game in Homedale. You hosted Logos in the semis last year. How did this game get scheduled?
After we played last year, they were talking after the game, and they were really hoping we could work something out. And so, they really initiated it, and we're happy to. We only have one conference game, so we're looking for games all over the place. And Logos is a good one. I mean, they're so tough to prepare for. Like in some ways, I wonder if playing him in the first game was the best idea. but we'll see. We got good kids. I think they understand what we're trying to get done. And man, Logos just really makes you pay attention. They're pretty creative and well coached, and they're just different. There's not a team you play anywhere in Idaho right now that you can say, well, they're kind of like Logos. Logos is their own type of team, that's for sure. They're one of a kind.
It's a very unique offense, and if you want to know more about what we're talking about, you can tune in to the Gem State Game of the Week this Saturday, 4 o'clock, as Logos and Butte County will meet in a neutral site game at Homedale. You mentioned it in the conference. Chalice drops down, so it's just you guys and Grace. You guys have become very familiar these past couple of years. That's way down the road, though, all the way at the tail end of the season. We might circle back and get your thoughts ahead of that Grace matchup at the end of the year.
Perfect. It's always tough. That'll be fun.
All right, Sam Thorngren, 19th season at Butte County High School. Best of luck this season, and I guess we'll see you on Saturday over in Holman.
All right. Thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate it. Big thanks to Sam Thorngren, the Butte County head coach in his 19th season with the Pirates, for joining us here on Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com. And guys, Brandon Baney, Logan Green, Ryan Scaggs, let's get to it. The 8-man ranks. Here's what we've got going on. Our preseason favorites for Class 2A, Kendrick, the juggernaut that's won 3 1A titles in a row. They move up to 2A now, and they get the nod in the preseason poll over Logos. So Kendrick was picked as the favorite in the White Pine League. Over in District 3, this was an easy one. Notice has won the league, I think, the last 5 years. Looking like it's going to be number 6. Over in District 4, this was a tough one to gauge. Oakley and Murtaugh actually ended up tied atop our preseason coaches poll. And then Logan over in East Idaho, Butte County, and Grace, they both finished tied at the top of the poll as well. Did the coaches vote for their own teams? Did they vote for the other teams? We'll never know. We both know they each got the same exact number of votes, though, because it's only 2 teams.
Right. Yeah. So it's, and I can understand either one of them thinking that they are going to win, because they both are great teams year in and year out.
Yeah, so I mean, and we asked Coach Thorngren about this. I said, hey, I'm not going to ask you about Grace now. You've got 9 weeks until you have to worry about them. But he did acknowledge that Coach James Newby always does a great job with the Grizzlies, and it wouldn't surprise me if both of those teams, Grace and Butte County, were like Final Four teams. They have been the past couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt that we'll see them in that position again. They're 2 teams that, obviously almost like Weiser and Homedale, right? They play each other in the regular season, and it's just a formality because they're both going to be playing late in November anyway, right? And it could go either way when it gets to that point. Last year, both of their seasons ended against Oakley. One defeated Oakley, one lost to Oakley. So that's something to keep an eye on too, as Oakley will be going up against Murtaugh, who I kind of like that pick. Murtaugh has been trending up the last couple of years, right? Made it to state a couple of years ago, wins a game last year. Maybe they are ready to take that next step forward. And, with Carey back down, that maybe a spot is a little more open in that league too.
Yeah, Murtaugh did lose Junior Benitez, the workhorse running back, and they lost their coach, Todd Jensen, longtime football coach, girls basketball coach, and athletic director at Murtaugh, left to become the boys basketball coach at Butte County, of all places. So he went from Murtaugh to Butte County. So Chad Young is the new coach at Murtaugh. Sawyer Young is back at quarterback, and he's got wheels. He was an all-state defensive back, fantastic quarterback as well. So, yeah, optimism for Murtaugh's high. Oakley lost almost everybody. I mean, Dallin Hardy is back to anchor the lines, but Robinson is gone, and Sevier is gone, and just Bridger Duncan and Bragg Bench and all these guys we were used to calling out, Cooper Beck. It was a fantastic senior class that walked through the doors at Oakley. And don't forget, not only do we have the 4 returning semifinalists from a year ago in this classification, but we actually got 2 semifinalists from the 1A level. Kendrick and Hagerman, a lot of people forget, was a Final Four team last year, and Hagerman has moved up into that conference with Oakley and Murtaugh as well. And they've got Kai Kendall, and they've got some big offensive linemen, and I think keep an eye on Hagerman this year too. Scaggs, let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Kendrick. I mean, even when they move up, they still get the nod in the White Pine League.
And that's the thing. Like, this Kendrick team is just loaded, and we talk a ton about him. And it was like, Logos was sitting here saying, when they saw the new classifications numbers come out and everything too, they had to just go like, you got to be kidding me. It was our year. Because I really look at Logos. I think they're a great team too. I mean, they're a phenomenally loaded team. But Kendrick, with what they bring back, we talk about what they lost too. I mean, like Ty Kep and the talent on talent that they had graduate. But it's like that cupboard wasn't bare. We had the state championship game last year, and they brought in those freshmen and sophomore underclassmen there in the third and fourth quarter, and they didn't miss a beat. And we talk about like what's it going to look like at quarterback? How are you going to replace Ty Kep? I'm telling you, you go if Nathan Twite does play quarterback, he's the best quarterback in 2A in the state. Like hands down, he can flat spin it. Do they need him to play quarterback? Is the question. I don't think so. Maddox Kirkland, he's going to be great. I think he's a little sophomore. He's an absolute spark plug. We saw him come in that state championship game against Camas County, and he came out with his hair on fire. And I mean, he ran for a big run. He ended up throwing a couple really nice balls. But we talk about what Kendrick brings back. I mean, you've got guys like Sawyer Hewitt, who's first team All-State. We're going to be talking about him all year. Wyatt Cook's going to be on the offensive front too, which is going to be, I think, interesting to see because of his frame. But you throw him with Brock Boyer and Carson Hogan. That's the best offensive unit. The offensive line in 8-man football in the state, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just not saying that, but they've got talent on talent. Raleigh Rotsunder is going to be an absolute stud at receiver. They're not going to miss a beat with what they've got, the pieces that are in place. Where I expect to see Kendrick legit make another. We're going to go 4. Like they could legit be 4 in a row this year.
Yeah, though the White Pine League in general with Kendrick and Logos and Camei and Prairie. Let's not forget Ryan Hasselstrom is back coaching Prairie after a 2-year hiatus. Clearwater Valley, Potlatch was a playoff team a year ago. Lapway started a freshman quarterback in Jerice McCormick last year, and even Troy. They still have some good pieces there as well. The White Pine League is going to be tough. Logan, go ahead.
I was saying, we didn't even mention like Lucius Comas and players like that from Logos. Like there is talent on talent in this conference, and it's just, I mean, it is an absolute meat grinder every Friday night.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. The White Pine's kind of like the Big 12. There's a lot of like 60-50 scores.
Well, just what you were saying, Ryan. Like Kendrick, I don't think there's any. It wouldn't shock anybody for them to come in and move up to 2A and go undefeated and win it. I mean, last year they played Oakley and they beat Oakley pretty good.
They beat the brakes off them physically. Absolutely.
So the team that hung with them the best, and I think if you talk to them, they'll say it was Butte County. Mm-hmm. That was a game that was right here in Middleton, and I was there, and Kendrick got up big, and Butte County got it down to a score. I believe it was down to a 1-possession game in the third quarter before Kendrick started to put some more points on the board, and then the unfortunate situation with Dylan Waymeyer. But I think that those two have built a friendly relationship, Butte County and Kendrick. And so it would be fun to see if maybe those two meet in a state championship or in a state tournament game. I think they would both enjoy seeing that come to be. So, Butte County, I think we glossed over it just a little bit and jumped over to the Magic Valley, but they return a ton of great players like Keaton Archibald back there at quarterback. They do lose some great players like Brody Westergaard, but they're going to be a really good team right back in the thick of it. And just from a fan base standpoint, I think those two are rooting for each other, and it would be fun to see if those two meet down the line in the season.
Yeah, and then with Grace, real quick to mention too, Grace went through the whole season with one quarterback, and then as the playoffs started, all of a sudden Gavin Draper was in at quarterback and 6'4", just broad-shouldered guy making plays happen. And so that was fun to watch last year for Grace as well. Okay, so from the White Pine League, Logan, which is full of drama, to the league that doesn't have much, the Western Idaho Conference. This is Notice's league until, Idaho City will be competitive, I think, but, Rimrock has Ronaldo Gomez, who is a great singular talent. He plays quarterback, defensive back, kicks, punts, kick returner, punt returner, drives the bus, makes the popcorn at halftime, all of those platitudes. And then you've got this, Wilder with a new coach and Josh Duty, and this co-op between Centennial Baptist and Gem State. But I mean, if we're just being honest, Notice is way out in front of the rest of the pack.
Right. And then it's not a diss on anybody. I don't think anybody takes offense to it because it is what it is. Wilder was a team that, a decade ago was really in the mix all the time. They were making state tournament appearances, runs at the state tournament. And so they're a team historically that could get there, and I would love to see Wilder back in the mix. But right now, what Coach Woodland's been able to do over there at Notice has just been amazing, right? Just what they've been able to do. And sometimes you look at that and say, oh, they're only good by way of the league, right? Because the league isn't as strong. But what Notice has been able to do is not just because of that. They're a good team outside of that. Put together a lot of great matchups in the non-conference. So this year they have some really tough non-conference games, and I feel like that is what Notice has. They've tried to do it the last couple of years, and I like that they're continuing to do that. Because when it comes to the playoffs, that's the question, right? Can a team from the league here in District 3 get a win in the playoffs? And that has not been the case over the last couple of years. So starting off their season, again, playing teams like Council, Raft River, Tri-Valley, and then at the end of the year, heading to Valley that week before the playoffs, almost like a tune-up, or not a tune-up because Valley's not a tune-up level team, but playing a team that you could see in the playoffs, right? A team that stiff competition. I think that'll bode well for them. And you know what? As a District 3 quote homer, right, I'd love to see Notice break through and win a game or two in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get it done. Here are the opening schedule of games here in week 1 at the Class 2A level. Only 4 of them. And Logan, it is your turn to pick first here. Which one are you gonna?
Okay, I'll take Butte County and Logos just because I'll be there for that game. That will be one of our. I'm sure you're going to get to this, Brandon, here, but we've got a couple of broadcasts coming up this weekend, so you can watch real football. I love the NFL. I love the Carolina Panthers, as sad as that has been over the last my entire life. Preseason football in the NFL it doesn't count. This is real football coming up this weekend that you can watch right here in Idaho Sports. So, and Butte County and Logos will be one of those games, and I think Oakley and Grace will be there. So we'll be here for 2 of these 4 games. But that Butte County Logos game is a rematch of the state semifinals a year ago. It hopefully will be warmer than the game in November that I was at, where I couldn't feel my fingers or my toes there in Arco. But this should be fun. Like you said, Ryan, Logos lost a lot of pieces. So it'll be interesting to see how they put those pieces back together on this team. They still have a lot of great pieces picked right under Kendrick in the league. And Butte County, again, same thing. This will be their first game ever as the defending state champs. So it'll be fun to see the Pirates come out on the field as defending state champs and in a neutral site location. We'll see how this one goes. It should be a fun way to start the season off here on IdahoSports.com broadcast schedule.
Ryan, you got a game you're looking at?
I was gonna pick the Butte County Logos game. Obviously, let's go Deary and Troy. I think the geographical rivalry there between the 2 teams. I know Deary, they're picked as the favorite right now in Class 1A in that White Pine League, taking the 8-mile drive over to Troy to take on the Trojans, a team I think that some people are hoping to surprise some people in that White Pine Conference. They've got that White Pine League's tough, like we talked about just a minute ago. But Troy's another one of those teams that's one of those fringe teams in the middle there in that pack that, if they came out with a nice showing this season and made a state playoff appearance, I don't think it would surprise a ton of folks. It's just, man, can Troy stay healthy? Can chips fall the right direction for the Trojans this year? It'd be interesting to see, because that's a team that I think's got the talent to make some noise in that conference. And Deary, can they come out and get a big win? I think in that first game and flex a little bit, maybe see if they can sneak one over in Troy and get off to a nice start there in the White Pine League in the 1A.